Alright, The Hobbit is sneaking up on us faster and faster every day, so we gotta talk about Lord of the Rings. However, if I don't successfully convey how epic Lord of the Rings is in the course of talking about these movies, I will consider it a personal failure upon myself, just saying. That being said, let's talk about some epic business. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. So the Lord of the Rings trilogy is directed by Peter Jackson based off of the beloved fantasy books by J.R.R. Tolkien. And warning to you guys, I'm going to talk about this movie with spoilers in it, so if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings yet, the short answer is go see it now, for the sake of all things holy. So the Lord of the Rings starts out with a really cool recap in Middle-earth history as to what has happened thus far concerning the ring. You see a sweet war with elves and people fighting Sauron. Sauron is this big evil. He was defeated 3,000 years ago by Isildur, and he made this ring and he poured in all of his malice and contempt for life. So since the ring survived, Sauron's soul isn't gone. He's not really dead. I mean, he's dead for the most part, but he's still been gaining power. Now we're at the moment where Sauron's gonna make a big move to take over Middle-earth again, and this ring has been in the lap of Bilbo Baggins for the past like 50 years. So I can't wait to see that happen in The Hobbit. It's gonna be badass. And I love when you see the Hobbits and Bilbo and Gandalf talking with Frodo. You know, you really get the Hobbit lifestyle. Hobbits, they're not exciting people. They're pretty content. They just want to drink, smoke weed, and eat. That is a Hobbit's life. So when all this drama is happening out there in the world, they're like, I really want nothing to do with that. That's right. Drama-free, fun-loving people. Those are my people. As much as I would love to say that I would probably be a wizard in Lord of the Rings or a badass warrior, I would probably be a hobbit. Who wouldn't want that life? But Gandalf sees this ring and he's like, something about this ring I don't like, dude. Gandalf is the Grey Wizard, played by Ian McKellen, who completely kills it in this movie. Which is funny, when I first met my best friend, like back in the day when Lord of the Rings came out in theaters, or was coming out in theaters, I was like, oh yeah, Magneto plays some wizard in the movie. My now friend then was just a guy I'd never met before in my life. He was like, alright, excuse me, some wizard? No, the wizard. I was like, who are you? But he had my respect, I'll tell you that. Long story short, Gandalf can't handle this ring at all because this ring is actually, it's an evil entity. It's alive. It has a will of its own, and I love when they convey that. I love when they say things like, the ring found this person. When Gandalf's talking with Frodo, he's like, you have to remember, the ring wants to get back to its master. It wants to be found. Sweet, I need to haul this thing around that pretty much would blow the whistle and call the evil Nazgul at me at any given time? Perfect. We're drama-free people, hobbits. You know that, right? Those Nazgul are just badass. So pretty much the Wraith version of Terminator, but there are 9 of them. And they are coming after this ring, and they will slaughter anyone to get to it, and they will kill the one who has it. You hear that evil screeching yell, you're like, yeah, you're all in bad shape. It's bad news for you. But halfway through this movie, you don't even have the Fellowship yet. You're just appreciating the buildup. Usually a long buildup makes a movie kind of seem like a grind to me. I'm like, all right, come on, let's just get to really cool shit. But this movie has cool enough stuff among really good character development, and it has excitement with the Nazgul chasing Frodo, so you're like, yeah, this movie's speaking to me. Then they get to Rivendell, where the elf Elrond, he's like, okay, this ring has to do with all races of Middle-earth, so you all have to decide what to do. And no matter what they decide, there's only one thing they can do with this ring. The ring is indestructible, except for one way. You have to take this ring to Mount Doom, which is in Mordor, in the Lion's Den of Evil. Drop it into the volcano where it was created. It's the only way to destroy this ring. Yeah, this ring that wants to be found, you take it into its master's territory to destroy it. Yeah, screw that noise. The special extended edition has this scene where Boromir, he's one of the humans, he's like, why not just use the ring against the enemy? Which would seem like a good idea, and I thought when I saw him say that in the trailer, I was like, yeah, why not? I agree with that dude, Boromir. But this movie really does a good job at conveying, no, that's not a good idea. Idiots do that. And Gandalf just stands up and starts speaking the language of Mordor in the elf city, and all the clouds go down, all the elves are like, ah! I love that scene. He's like, I'm not gonna apologize for that. If you do that, that language will be everywhere. So really think it through, douche. But then the Fellowship is formed, and now Frodo needs to take this ring to Mordor, to Mount Doom, and he has a fellowship of a bunch of people to help him. He's got his 3 hobbit friends. He's got Gandalf the wizard, Gimli the dwarf, Legolas the elf, Boromir a human warrior, and he's got Aragorn. And Aragorn's a really key piece to Lord of the Rings. Like, if they got a shit actor to play Aragorn, or if you didn't empathize with him, if you didn't connect with him, this whole whole thing really would have crumbled. You'd be like, oh yeah, the whole Frodo thing's cool, but Aragorn, eh. Luckily, Viggo Mortensen kills it as Aragorn. Why it's important is because Aragorn is destined to be the king. He's gonna be the king of men. He's gonna be the one that unites men together. But he walked away from all that because he's like, I want nothing to do with it. My ancestor who held that ring just didn't destroy it and held onto it because they thought it would be awesome. Now look at the boat we're in. I guess I love really badass, really efficient, damaged characters who walked away from their destiny, who are now kind of being like, well, yeah, it probably would be a good idea if I step up to this. And this movie has great cinematography too. You see those swooping shots, you know, the scenery. I mean, they're a dime a dozen now. But back when Lord of the Rings came out, it was the movie that hit it and hit it on the screen with a vengeance. When I see these really epic swooping shots of soldiers going down hills to meet an army to clash, I'm like, oh, that's a Lord of the Rings shot. The Moria scene's badass too. I mean, Moria is this underground mine. It's pretty much been sacked by goblins, so all the dwarves in there are dead. But they get into this big scrap in the Mines of Moria, and there's this big cave troll, which, you know what? That's why it's a bummer that YouTube did not exist in Middle-earth. Because YouTube would have taught them, you don't fight the troll with magic or swords or axes or bows and arrows or anything like that. You just ignore the trolls and they will go away. It's a survival tactic. It's timeless. It is what it is. But hey, they hold their own, but then you see it. You see the Balrog of Morgoth. And Gandalf's like, yep, this thing's beyond any of you. Just run. And they just haul ass. And the music's great. It's all kicking on. And then he stands toe to toe with that Balrog. This thing's enormous. It's a big flaming demon with horns. And he's like, you cannot pass. And you're like, holy shit, old dude. You're more badass than anything I've ever seen. You think anyone else would have done that? You think Darth Vader would stand toe to toe with a Balrog of Morgoth? No, he would not. Granted, he does fall into the shadow, and thus for the rest of the movie, you assume him dead. But this is Lord of the Rings. Not all things are what they seem, but it doesn't change the fact that at the time that I saw Lord of the Rings, I was like, whoa. Did Gandalf get Boba Fetted? No, he didn't. I'm saying right now, he did not. But that music kicks on, man. Everyone's like, no, it's all slow-mo. It's rough. I have to touch on the music at this point. Howard Shore's music, the musical score in this movie, is beyond epic. It's that music that you hear and you're immediately taken back to Middle-earth. And you're like, yeah, that's why I love this. I went on the Hobbit website just today and you hear the Hobbit music and you're like, kid. Hobbit. I just love the themes of Lord of the Rings. It has everything to do with friendship and honor, loyalty, sacrifice. I love that Elrond told the Fellowship, he was like, all right, the ring bearers promised to do this, but the rest of you, the support crew, the Fellowship, there's been no oath given, no blood oath taken that makes you have to go farther than you think you need to go. No one is obligated to follow Frodo to the end, into the heart of the enemy, to Mount Doom and probably death. But they would do it. Why? Friendship. But I really gotta tip my hat to Boromir in this movie. The ring is a really seductive thing. It makes guys feel empowered. They'll do anything for it. And then it's treacherous. It'll betray them. It's like the vagina of Middle-earth. It will corrupt anybody who's around it for long enough. It's not like, oh, if the ring does corrupt me. It's more like when the ring does corrupt me. In the Fellowship, Boromir was the one who was most susceptible to the rings. He was the one who fell first. He tried to take it from Frodo. He tried to kill him. But he realized what he was doing and he gave his life for the hobbits like big time. Took arrows into the chest. He's just fighting everyone off with a sword. You're like, yeah, you're awesome. Your dad's a dick. We'll touch on that later. But you, Boromir, you're not so bad. Ultimately, I'm glad everything worked out for the Lord of the Rings movies. There was a time where Lord of the Rings was going to be 2 movies. The whole Lothlorien scene wasn't going to be in it. God knows the Nerf bat version of Lord of the Rings we would have gotten. Peter Jackson was proving himself in production, so they were like, yeah, okay, 3 movies. And now we have a trilogy, which is just, it's not even a movie trilogy. It's an experience, a religion to some. You sit down with the special extended editions of Lord of the Rings. You just take 12 hours out of your day just to watch them all back to back. It does such a good job at putting you into Middle-earth. You're there, you're invested, you love the characters, you're going on the quest. Nothing else needs to be said. I can't actually convey to you guys how happy I get when I watch Lord of the Rings. It's one of those things where I will go months without watching it, and I'll see the Lord of the Rings Blu-rays that I have, and I'm like, I should probably watch that again. Then I watch them and I'm like, why don't I watch this day in, day out, every day? That's just how I am with Lord of the Rings. Why? Simple. Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring is awesome-tacular. The world of Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth is just such an involved entity. And that credit goes to J.R.R. Tolkien. He made that world. He made an elvish language. A fake language. It's crazy. But the credit for capturing that depth and all those layers that made Middle-earth in the movie for the big screen, that goes to Peter Jackson. All right, so have you seen the Lord of the Rings movies? Have you seen the Fellowship of the Ring? What did you think about it? Comment below. Let me know. We're going to do the whole trilogy before The Hobbit's out. Trust me, I got you covered. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.